we have got 2 properties in the Old Maltings which we are about to construct. So 2 new build houses. If you've been following the Old Maltings, we've got 21 flats, which is the conversion in the main building. This day and age, when you're building new build houses, you have to have some form of renewable technology. You have to have quite high energy efficiency ratings, low air permeability, things like that. But to do that, the sort of baseline model would be to use something like an air source heat pump, so it's fully electric as the house, and maybe some solar panels on the roof. So I've been back and forth speaking with a couple of people about renewable technology. We have got 2 properties in the Old Maltings which we are about to construct. So 2 new build houses. If you've been following the Old Maltings, we've got 21 flats, which is the conversion in the main building. In December, we got planning approval to construct 2 new houses, like townhouses in the car park. And this day and age, when you're building new build houses, you have to have some form of renewable technology. You have to have quite high energy efficiency ratings, lots of thermal insulation, low air permeability, things like that. But to do that, typically the sort of baseline model would be to use something like an air source heat pump, so it's fully electric as the house, an air source heat pump, and maybe some solar panels on the roof. So I've been discussing other ways in which we could achieve the same levels of EPC but reduce the costs or introduce different technologies. And the conversation that I had this morning was about infrared. This image shows the difference between sort of typical convection heaters. So you've got a radiator on the wall that's radiating hot heat, and that hot air rises, hits the window, cools down, and then circulates around the room. So all you're doing is putting an infrared panel on the wall or the ceiling or the floor, and all the objects within that room and you yourself will feel that infrared radiant heat effectively. And the best way I've had this explained to me of how living in a property with infrared heaters is like you're walking down the street on one side of the road in the shade of the buildings, and as soon as you cross the road into the sunshine, that is the type of radiant heat that you would feel within your property. So nothing would be hot to the touch as such. The infrared rays are effectively heating your body, heating thermal masses, and that's how you and the property gets warm. The benefit of this is that the actual temperature in the place stays very, very consistent. There's no hot and cold, really distinct drops in terms of conventional heating, and there's very, very low mold and condensation risk when you're doing infrared heating, which for rental properties, for example, which these 2 will be in terms of HMOs, has a massive longevity benefit to us as the landlord, because you're not having to deal with any potential risks of condensation and mold growth and dealing with unhappy tenants and going in and cleaning things. That's a real massive benefit of infrared heating. I'd love to know if anyone has installed this type of thing who's tuning in. I did install this in one of Rod's projects, actually, Jack, in his scheme in Southwest London, block of 4 flat. And I asked him, how did the tenants found it? He said, basically, I've not heard from any of them, so I'm assuming it's fine, which is probably as good a feedback as you need, really. If everyone's complaining, saying it doesn't work, I'm always cold, or have loads of issues with it, then obviously it's not really the type of system you want to be installing.
If you're getting value from this video, please subscribe down below, but do us one bigger favor and share it with just one person you think will get value from this. Thank you very much. Back to the video.
One of the other things that you can do to stop mold growth and condensation buildup is to use something like this. This is another product that I found, well, somebody mentioned to me the other day. Effectively, this is a mechanical ventilation and heat recovery unit, but it's a standalone one. So you see a lot of big systems where it's got a big box, loads of ducting running around to each wet room and loads of ducting running around to each bedroom and kitchen, etc., all like a centralized system. Whereas this is basically a decentralized heat and ventilation recovery system. So you can just stick one of these in a bedroom and it would constantly be running in the background, bringing in fresh air that's warmed up through the process, taking out stale air and stopping mold growth and condensation. So this is the sort of thing that the building regulations are trying to push you towards, to basically reduce the amount of mold and condensation buildup. One of the other things that we're looking at the townhouses at the Old Maltings is this type of hot water system. Where this hot water system differs from your typical megaflow system is that the jacket around how it's built effectively is a vacuum system. So instead of it being like just a thick foam insulation that's sort of stopping the heating getting out of the hot water, the casing is made with a vacuum system, which, for those that don't know, effectively has way better thermal efficiencies than just like a foam or an insulation that's sort of, rigid insulation, for example. It's very, very low heat loss, keeps your hot water hotter for longer, and therefore requires less energy to keep it at the temperature it needs to. So slightly more expensive than the megaflow system, but over the long-term operational costs of the property, be well worth looking at. Then we're looking at PVs, so solar panel basically. So the idea would be that the whole system within the Old Maltings would be infrared heaters throughout the property. Hot water would be provided by this direct electric heating hot water system, which would provide hot water to your showers and your taps. And then all of the electricity, well, not all of the electricity, but most of the electricity will be generated from the PVs on the roof, which will help you heat your water during the day when it's cheap to run, and also provide electricity for your infrared heaters as well. If you find that you're generating more electricity and you're selling most of it back to the grid, which is very inefficient, you can then look at installing battery packs to basically store that energy that you're creating during the day with the solar panels. But then you can also set yourself on a tariff whereby you buy cheaper overnight. So let's say you're normally spending 24p per kilowatt during the day on electricity, but you're buying it at 6p overnight, like the Octopus Go rates for electrical vehicle charging. You can basically buy energy at 6p and then use it during the day because you're storing it up in the battery. So it's a very, very efficient way of keeping your house going from an electrical perspective. So these are new technologies that we're looking at. I'm actually sort of waiting for a price now to look at the infrared system and the OSSO hot water tank system and see how it compares, because ultimately using an air source heat pump, you're probably spending 11 grand installing the air source heat pump system. If this infrared system can come in a lot cheaper than that, why wouldn't we look at it? It has lots of benefits, like I mentioned, in terms of the condensation and the mold growth and all that sort of stuff.
If you got value from this video, make sure you click the subscribe button down below and ring the notification bell, because we release one video at least every week, so be the first to get notified. See you on the next one.